in 3 hours than 4 years at a woke university. And it's free. The Charlie Kirk Show.
Okay, now I need to tell you about our amazing partners at YRefi. Go to YRefi.com. YRefi refinances distressed or defaulted private student loans, which are different from federal loans. Let's face it, if you guys have a privately held student loan, nobody's coming to bail you out. Well, YRefi offers a 3-minute rate check without any credit impact, and it may not be available in all 50 states. We are about to start our campus tour, and YRefi is the sponsor of it. If you go to YRefi.com, you can read testimonials from other people who have been where you are and how they have escaped successfully. YRefi is not a debt settlement company, and they work with each borrower individually, tailoring each loan to each borrower's specific situation. You will not be calling a faceless call center. YRefi does not care what your credit score is. They provide you with a custom loan payment based on your ability to pay. Can you imagine being debt-free and not living under this burden anymore? YRefi offers a 3-minute rate check without any credit impact. Go to YRefi.com. That is YREFY.com. You can get them released from the loan. It may not be available in all 50 states. YRefi.com. Remember, you can watch this full interview ad-free on members.charliekirk.com, as well as every other episode completely ad-free. Sign up today to become part of the members-only call this week. We had to take a break from my Asia trip, but I'm ready to get back to the calls to talk to you soon.
And so I think, the suppression of that sense of self, sense of rootedness, sense of home, sense of distinctiveness in what we are and what we love, that was never going to be sort of erased by the liberal doctrines of the kind of the blank slate doctrines of human nature. We're rooted human beings. We're related to what's around us. We're conservative about what we love most, about what's closest to us, and that's never going to go away. And we got to face up to reality as it is given to us and not as we would like it to be.
But what went wrong with the liberal project?
Well, I think the fundamental problem with the liberal project is that it's grounded on fundamentally mistaken assumptions about what it is to be human. The basic idea is that human beings are born into the world with completely independent, completely blank slate. This is Locke's view of the tabula rasa or the white page, and we're completely free of all unchosen obligations. And there can be no obligations that we don't ourselves choose. And this is just a complete fantasy. I don't think it's an accident that the great liberal philosophers like John Locke and Immanuel Kant never had any children. Anyone who's had a child will understand that the radical nature of dependency, that most basic bond. We're born into the world with that most literally, with a physical bond. We're attached to a physical bond to our mothers. And so that was always going to be a problem. That we're not blank slates. We are connected. We flourish most when we're connected to what is closest to us, and it's not natural to love what is closest to us. I was in France, I think, last month, up in the mountains, this beautiful chateau, addressing must have been 50 or 60, I suppose, conservative right-wing students from all across, I think probably 25 different nations. And I wasn't quite sure what I was going to say to them, that the organizers hadn't been very clear. So I found myself beginning the session by saying, who here has got the best mum in the world? And every hand went up. And they looked around and they started laughing at each other. And I said, notice what you're not doing right now. You're not arguing with each other. You're not discussing what are the proper optimality criteria of being a mother. You're not. That would be a crazy, inhuman thing to do. It's a totally natural thing to think that your mum is the best mum in the world. And then I said, who here lives in the best country in the world? And everybody's hands went up. And my point was, I don't owe you an argument for why my country is the best country in the world, any more than I owe you an argument for why my mum is the best mum in the world. Somebody who asks for an argument has had what the philosopher Bernard Williams calls one thought too many. The person who has one thought too many is like the utilitarian who walks up to the river and he sees two women drowning, his wife, and a strange woman, and stops to ask, what if that strange woman might win the Nobel Prize in public economics? That person has had one thought too many. It is a totally natural disposition of every human to love what is closest to their own. Aquinas sees this. Aristotle sees this. At the beginning of one of the greatest works of politics ever written, Book 1, page 1 of Aristotle's Politics. He says, how do we think about how we get on? How do we think about the life of the polis, ta politica? He says, well, you know, we're born into the world and we're dependent upon each other. Male, female, men and women will bond. Then they will procreate. There'll be a family, a household, an oikos, but that won't be enough. That will be enough for daily needs. But it won't be enough for sort of, more than daily needs. So you'll have a village, and the village will come together, but that won't be enough either. You will need to grow into a polis for self-defense and so on, a city-state, as it were, a country, a nation. And that, Aristotle thinks, okay, that's pretty small in 5th, 4th century BC Greece, but that was the functioning, that was the way in which Aristotle, that was his kind of optimal size for human beings to flourish, to as it were, fulfill their proper ends as human beings. And I think that's still the basic way of thinking about things. I think it's really what you see in Aquinas. I think it's what you see in the Bible as well.
Wow, there's so much there to think about. So let's pull one of those threads, which is that all the French young people that at that chateau will raise their hand, who lives in the greatest nation. Why does Europe not vote or believe that vocally in any of their politics? Let's now center our conversation around continental Europe, and then we'll make our way to your home. If I may say so, continental Europe is a husk of its former self. It's an open-air museum. It's sad. It's depressing. There are pockets, obviously, of joy and of history, but I think you would agree, Dr. Orr, it's not what it used to be.